All right, this is the little gallery of San Bernardino with Matthew Dickerson. How are you this evening, Matthew?
Doing pretty good, or as good as I can be with everything going on.
Right on, yeah, right. Um, so, tell us for the followers that started following after your show. Tell us when was your show at the little gallery?
My show was it only last November? No,
Okay,
two years ago, I think. It
okay,
was within the first year of the little gallery opening. I believe I was like the fourth show.
got you. That's a step. Congrats, man. That's cool. What pieces did you put into it? Like, can you like describe them or tell us like maybe the concept behind them?
The name of my show was called The Progeny of Man, and it was kind of like a show that was based on the kind of like the darker side of like mankind or humanity. And I had a lot of different pieces that I was working on. So one of the pieces I had were these chemical weapon cups
Uh,
that they had like the typical name tag that would say "Hello, my name is," and they would have a name. And so for the ones I had, it was like sarin or tabin or lewisite. And the whole idea with those cups were, like, oh, I don't know who this is. Hello, hi, I'm sarin. And then on the other side of the cup, it was the chemical composition because all those cups were actually chemical weapons. So it was the kind of like, oh, hi, oh, no, I don't want to know you, because I made those cups during the middle of the Syrian civil war when they're starting to use things like sarin on their own people. And I kind of got the
wow.
feeling that a lot of people didn't know what it was, but
Yeah.
I always kind of like macabre things like that. So I was like, oh, that's not good. And so I kind of made these cups as a kind of just like kind of to bring attention of the fact that these things do exist, and they might have names that don't sound very scary or intimidating, but they're actually
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you use their actual name, even though maybe some
Mm-hmm.
people may not recognize them. But hearing what you told me, it makes it makes me wish I would have seen it back then. I come from a little bit more westward, out in the city of Covina, so
Mm-hmm.
I just transferred into San Bernardino last fall. But that's really yeah, that's pretty cool that you use the chemical names. And yeah, I didn't know that because I'm pretty sure that biochemical warfare is like a no by the UN laws of like war and stuff. Uh,
Yeah, so it was really just to kind of like bring up to light that even though they're not supposed to be being used, are kind of being used, and nobody really knows what they are. They just hear something like chemical weapons, and you don't really
yeah,
know the names of them or what they're supposed to do. But I mean, you look up something like the main one that I always showcase, the one that says "Hello, my name is Sarin." I mean, that doesn't sound threatening, but then when you actually look up what sarin is, it's a nerve agent that lingers around and kills people.
oh wow, what are
And
the yeah, what are the effects of the other two?
the other two, like the tabin's the same thing. It's just a different type of nerve agent.
Gosh.
I think I also had one that's just a VX because that was like its name, and I didn't want to put the American name because it would have sounded kind of too comical, because I think it's Venomous Agent X, but it
That
also just
sounds
goes by
very
VX. And then the other one was the last one I had was called Lewisite, which was I think it's called a desiccant, and it's basically a gas that if it comes in contact with your skin or mucous membranes, it causes blisters.
oh
So
damn.
that one actually goes all the way back to the First World War, because that's when this type of warfare was really, really big. And that's when I think people would know about it the most. So I thought it was kind of alarming that at the time you're kind of seeing some of these other ones kind of like, at least the sarin for the most part, pop up. You're like, oh, that shouldn't be going on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. Just like you said, because of World War I, I was always, I don't know, fascinated by how the whole world could be in two world wars. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
But so, what made you want to do a project about this? Is it because maybe our family members were affected by that? What made you
I think it
want
was
to do
just to
this?
kind of bring the attention and atrocities that were kind of going on, like in Syria, at least with that very first cup. And then I kind of just enjoyed making that first cup. It's like, you know what? I think I'm going to make other cups based on this one. So that's where I included like the others. The others that I mentioned haven't actually been really used in a whole like warfare situation. They might be used here and there, like as a poisoning or just as a descriptor. But like that first one, the sarin one I made as a kind of just to bring attention to what was going on. And I've always kind of had a weird interest in things like that. So I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I'll just make the others.
Well, that's what you're interested in. That's I don't know if it's weird or not, but it's very interesting facts, and that's really like you said that's really cool that you did a project on that. 'Cause, yeah, most people wouldn't know that, and that becomes more of a ethical question that maybe people should know about. Do you like to do a lot of? Do you find yourself doing a lot of? This seems like a lot of political art. Is this something that's kind of a theme throughout any of the pieces that you make?
I'd say I don't really do political as much as I kind of like to do like more dark art.
That's
Kind of
interesting.
like
Maybe it is political.
I like the macabre and kind of the grim. So that's where, in I guess my mind, it kind of gets lumped into that. Like another piece, I did a couple of these eyepieces. I'm pretty sure we had them up at the show, but they were more of just like these kind of black clay slabs that had eyes on them that were kind of like always judging. And so I like to do things like that, and I also had these larval forms that I had throughout the show too, that were kind of based on a animation that I had seen growing up, and it kind of never left my mind. But I kind of decided to incorporate that.
What was if you don't mind me asking, what was the anime?
Oh, it's just based off a hentai.
Oh, got you. Yeah, got you. But
so I made these weird kind of tentacle larval forms that were kind of based off of what I saw, and it would always be something like it'd be like a mad scientist or some terrible person that kind of made these weird creatures. And I don't know. I just it always kind of stuck with me, and I just thought that, you know what? I think it's just because since recently anime has been having such it's been kind of a weird golden age where if you want to just watch it, you can watch it. Whereas when I was growing up, if you wanted to watch it, you actually had to go find a VHS. And sometimes you pop in the VHS and you got what you expected. But other times you would put in the VHS and you got something you totally did not expect. And like, what the hell am I watching? I thought this was about ninjas. And it totally isn't. So I think some of those images kind of got burned in my head, and it's like, you know what? I think I just maybe some sort of catharsis that I need to kind of recreate and make them. And as I started making them, I kind of had some fun, and I wanted to, like, what usually in those situations is usually kind of like in my mind at least, like a cold sterile situation. So every time I made a new one of these larval forms, I numbered it, and that's usually the only thing it got. So I ended up calling them Torado forms, which kind of translates roughly into terrible forms.
Okay, where'd you come up with the name?
I think it's Latin, and so since I know, like,
that's cool.
It's either Latin or Greek, so I kind of just played around with the words until I got something that was very fitting for what it was, and then I just started kind of labeling them in a very sterile way. And I kind of went off of like how like the Japanese and Chinese would like label their weapons back in the Second World Wars. They'd always do type and then a number. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to start labeling mine that way too. And so I started doing it type 001. Then the next one was type 002. And I think I got all the way up to type 014.
That's pretty cool.
And they would range from being about this big to, I think the biggest one, if it were to be stretched out, it'd be like 3 feet long.
Oh wow!
So they
All
were,
from clay, correct?
yeah, they were all ceramic.
Is it is there a particular clay that you specifically use for that part for those tentacles, or was it like kind of use different clays like porcelain,
I
whatnot?
mainly focused on actually just using a lot of the recycled clay that we
Oh, that's
actually had
cool.
at the studio. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
environmentally friendly.
yeah, and it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
So
gotta save a buck. That's
I
cool.
kind of focused on that, and I mean, the color of the clay didn't really matter because I added like an oxide wash on them, and then even the tentacles I was just using red underglaze and spraying a clear on them. So
What's
the
a
color of the
oxide wash? Sorry to cut you off.
uh,
Yeah, what is it called?
so an oxide wash is usually just kind of a raw material or chemical with just a little bit of water, and then you just kind of apply it directly on the piece.
Oh, okay, cool.
So actually, I think I was using. Actually, I might have used a Barnard wash, which was actually a Barnard wash is just a really dark clay,
Uh,
and I just kind of sponged it on and then wiped a lot of it off, so it would expose a lot of the
huh.
relief, and then the parts where it was maybe textured a bit more, it would still stay a dark brown.
Got you. That's pretty cool. How'd you yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you have any? I see you maybe at work, school.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah,
you
I'm
have
at the
any?
university.
Do you have any pieces at school right now? That
I don't, because after the show, I made sure that I made to wrap them up because they were really delicate,
uh-huh.
especially the tentacles. They were very prone to if like you kind of nudge something, or I mean, some of the tentacles were like that big, and some were like maybe that big. So they were all kind of
Yeah,
like,
they're
I
very.
need to really wrap this up, and then I'm just going to put it in for long term storage because I have a lot of pictures on my website of all of them. So it's like, if I
Oh,
ever need to look at them again, I'll just look at them on my website or direct people there, because I had to basically bubble wrap their heads and then wrapped up the rest of them so that they can just kind of gently be at peace.
well, you're gonna have to email me your. Well, I'll just email you. See, maybe you can send me some of those pictures. Maybe I could incorporate
Yeah.
them in. That'd be kind of cool to show. That's what's up, though. So, do you have any current projects that are kind of brewing in your head, or something?
Yeah, I actually had, I have a couple pages on my website, and I was actually planning to start a new page, and I think I was going to call it Ruin.
Okay.
And what it was kind of an appreciation of dead forms,
Uh-huh.
where I was getting things that I could kind of easily access. So in this case, let me start over. In the fall, before I started this piece, we actually went to the Salton Sea. The university did as a trip
That's
in the
cool.
art department. So I went there, and then the whole thing was mainly to get motivation and such. And so I don't know if you've been to the Salton Sea. It
Yeah.
can vial wildly on that. Like, oh, it's this kind of post-apocalyptic place where there's a big body of water, and
Yeah.
apparently people live around here too. You go in the summer and like there's all this dead fish and it smells terrible and it's 102 outside. Like, why are people living here?
Yeah,
We
that's trippy.
we luckily went when it was a bit nicer,
Yeah.
but you could still see like dead fish here and there or their skeletons.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got the idea, because the Salton Sea is so salty that the only thing that lives in there is tilapia, which is a ocean water fish. But that's the
Gotcha.
only thing that lives out there now. And I thought to myself, like, where could I mean, I'm not going to, there wasn't really any to pluck from there. All the birds have eaten them, or they were just all scattered. So I figured, what are the best place to get one that I could use? And I ended up just kind of going and getting a fish, and I got it fried. And I ate it, and then I was left with just the skeleton, and I kind of put clay onto it and smashed it. And then after I fired it, I got this kind of like a faux fossil
Mm-hmm.
of the fish. And then I kind of used some oxide wash to kind of bring out the highlights and depressions. And I think I actually do have one of those around here, because I was taking pictures, but I never took them home. So I'll show you those in a moment.
Yeah, definitely have to show us.
But it was just kind of like this macabre appreciation of the creature that it was.
Uh-huh.
And so I have about 4 of these pieces, and I was getting ready to do it all. And then once COVID kind of hit, and that there's all these estimations of people dying and death, and that this whole series is about death, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna hold off on this page.
I can see it
for a little bit. I don't want to be insensitive,
Yeah, that's
so
true. That's true.
I mean, I was kind of on the cusp of releasing it, and then I think this might have been like a week into the lockdown, and so I was just like, I think I'm gonna hold off on this. It's okay. It's fine. So I think that the page itself is like pretty much 4/5 complete, but I'm just like, we'll do this soon, but not yet.
I played. That's very kind of you, generous. Yeah. But that's what's up, man. So I see you have what's your shirt saying? Blackcraft Colt?
Oh yeah, it's just a T-shirt.
Is it a what is it? A band or is it a like
no?
A brand
it's literally just a clothing brand that kind of deals with like macabre and satanic iconography.
Got you.
So, I mean, can't really see a whole lot on it, and plus I also just like them because they're really nice shirts.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. What? So when did you first attended State San Bernardino?
So I started Cal State San Bernardino, I think, spring of 2009, or it might have been spring 2008.
Okay.
Around that.
I'm sorry. Were you a art major at that time, or?
Yeah, at that time I was a art major.
Okay. That's what's up. Cool, man. And how'd you? Well, I guess how was your experience going through that, specifically to ceramics?
Overall it was a lot of fun. I made some friends, and it was different because before that I was going to Riverside Community College, and I mean they had a ceramic studio that was nice, and they did have like a small community of people that were doing ceramics, but it was actually, I felt, a lot more fun and enjoyable to finally be in a art department that was much more cohesive. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't just dealing with some ceramic people. I was dealing with ceramic people. I was dealing with people in glass, people in sculpture, the painters, anyone else that I would run into. Uh-huh. So, and it was also different too because I was getting all my lower division classes done. So I was meeting a bunch of people and such, where I wasn't really an art major or anything when I was at Riverside Community. I was just kind of getting all my classes done, so then I can go transfer over here. So once I got here, I basically was focused on art for everything.
Got you. What did you know from an early age that you wanted to, I guess, major in art and pursue ceramics, or was that kind of something that you stumbled across?
I mean, I had always kind of like enjoyed playing with clay or modeling clay, and I mean, I didn't think at the time I'd be getting a degree in it. I mean, if you asked me in high school, I was doing music, and I was in the band. I was a total band geek, and I think in my high school career, I took one ceramics class, and I was going to take the next class up, and then I heard you had to write a 2-page paper, and I'm like, oh no, I ain't doing that. I'm not writing a paper. I'm going to stick around being a band geek. So I think it's kind of funny. And then fast forward a couple years, I'm like, I think I'm going to do ceramics.
Right? How funny how life can be like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, man. Well, here you are, man. It seems like it's been a good choice, for you. Mm-hmm. At least I hope. Was that? Have you been showcased any other shows at the Little Gallery, or was that like your first one, the one that you said, I think 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean that was the only show that I've done at the Little Gallery. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've shown at I think it's called What Goes Bump in the Night at a small ceramic gallery in Las Vegas, and I participated in the Clay and Glass Biennial in Brea.
What? Tell us about those two things. What? How did you get connected to that one gallery, and then tell us about the glass blowing by.
So the What Goes Bump in the Night show, it's kind of what show. It sounds like. It's supposed to be kind of spooky, creepy ceramics. And so when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's totally up my alley. I'm totally going to apply for this show.
Yeah.
And once I did, I mean, it was that whole, I actually was going to Vegas when that show was up. So it was very nice of me to go like, oh, well, you know what? Since I'm in town, I'm going to go check out the gallery. And it was really fun to see other people's, I guess, appreciation of kind of dark, weird, creepy ceramics.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, look, there's my stuff. It fits in perfectly. And so I've always kind of liked that show. And I mean, just for the shows in general, I just kind of looked around for ceramic shows and their due dates and their themes to see like, can I make this show? Do I have work that fits this show? And for the clay and glass biennial, I think I stumbled upon the Brea Gallery. And I applied for one of their shows, but I didn't get in. And then I just saw like, oh, they're having like a clay and glass show, biennial show, like in a couple months. I'll apply for that to see if it gets in.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it got in. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a pretty big show.
Yeah, that's really cool, man.
Yeah, there was a lot of like other big ceramic people. There was actually, I think, one or two, or at least one of the MFA students at Cal State at the time, she applied for the show and she got into, and another student from somewhere else applied. And like, oh, well, I feel kind of fancy. So I mean, when it just came to the shows, I always just kind of just looked for the shows and looked at their prospectus to see if like any of my stuff would kind of fit in, and then just kind of went for it.
Yeah.
And if I got in, I got in, and if not, I didn't. I mean, I've gotten into the show that they have at the National Orange Show for their when they have the National Orange Show and that whole little festival that they would have in May. And it was just kind of funny because I applied submitted two of my eye slab pieces, and so they're these big black slabs with eyes looking at you, and then next to it you see like, oh, I drew an orange tree. I'm like, well, you know, they were just accepting it, so whatever. I'm cool with that. Let me get some more hors d'oeuvres while I'm here. So a lot of the times when there's just been like a show, especially if it's like a juried show, I'm like, well, I'm going to go for it. We'll see what happens, and just go from there.
Yeah, that's a good mentality to go with when we're going to do approaching those kind of shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Let's see, what else? Do you have any other projects that are that you have brewing? Anything else that's going on in there? You seem to be pretty busy, man.
Yeah. So when COVID and the lockdown happened, like, I mean, this is my studio, and I went from being here like 3 days a week to 2 hours every 2 weeks.
God.
So
oh man,
I essentially got completely cut off from my studio for a very long time.
Yeah.
And even when I was on campus, I had special permission from the dean to be on campus, so I can just make sure everything's fine in the building, then pretty much leave. Yeah. So I had to start getting really creative. And I set up a mini studio in my garage where I started working on tikis.
Oh, cool. Huh.
Because tiki culture's been... Tiki? Well, I also work at besides working at Cal State San Bernardino as a ceramic technician, I work at a Bauer Pottery of Los Angeles as a slipcaster.
Oh, okay. Where it's...
And so that... The factory is in Highland, and then we have a showroom in Los Angeles.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
So I'd work at the factory filling up molds and then taking the pieces out, and tikis have been making a really big comeback lately. And I mean, you just think of like the tiki party and stuff. The current like explosion of tikis right now has lasted longer and seems to be bigger than the original back in like, I don't know, what is the 60s. So we've been actually getting a lot of orders from other artists that they'll give us a masterpiece or a mold, and then we actually create hundreds of them for them. And I started thinking like, well, you know, I made some tiki shot glasses like the year before this all happened. Maybe I'll start slip casting some of my own. Because I mean, every time I would do like, I was doing small production, and then my boss was generous enough to let me sell some of these shot glasses at the showroom. next to the other Tiki stuff, and they always sold.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, I'm going to start on working on maybe making some new Tikis or making new molds for the current ones I have. So I invested in buying a table. I bought some silicone to make some the master pieces that wouldn't decay or corrode. Yeah. And then I started making molds. And then my boss actually said that he was interested in selling these shot glasses on his website.
Okay, so, that's what's up.
I mean, I started doing some like small mass production.
Yeah.
And basically we have the deal that I just kind of, I clean and finish them, and then he'll glaze them and sell them.
All right. That's what's up. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're still in the process of getting everything, finalized and set up. We're just waiting on some photos, but I have a whole bunch of these shot glasses at my other job, just waiting to be, kind of finished and glazed. So that's like one of the small projects I've been working on. And
that's really cool, man.
And over this whole thing too, I've kind of learned that I usually don't mess with anything kind of like 2-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of discovered that I enjoy making 2-dimensional digital pieces. Okay. Because I kind of like taking pictures of some of the things that I create in 3D, and then I'll kind of mess with them there. But it's not like just a regular photo. Like I'll do some really, really high contrast. So then you just end up with like the shadows in white.
Yeah.
And then I kind of make pieces that way, just like kind of just as like a print or some Tiki stuff that I've been messing with.
Yeah.
Like
how do you make it into the 3D object? Or
well, sometimes it's just like in one of the cases I had a shot glass and I took a picture of it on my phone, and then I uploaded it into Photoshop and just keep on messing with it until it's nothing but just ultra high contrast of just blacks in the white.
Gotcha.
And from that's usually what I like. I mean, it could just kind of be I need to kind of experiment more because it's kind of just like a one-trick pony. But it's kind of what I've been liking to do. I'm like, no, this is fun. I like this. So it's something that I didn't expect to kind of enjoy myself, and it's nothing. I can't even compete against anyone that actually does 2D work because I'm just kind of messing around with some stuff. But it's something that I picked up recently and I've enjoyed.
Wow, that's cool. Sometimes those enjoyments lead to who knows what, kind of like a rabbit hole. That's cool, man. I'm kind of backpedaling a little bit because we did use the term quite a bit. Slip casting. Briefly explain that. What is slip casting for us that don't know?
Slip casting is a method of mass production. So you have like a plaster of Paris mold. It's usually in like 2 or 3 parts, and it all closes up together. And then you get what's called casting slip, which is the liquid clay, and you pour it into the mold, and then you wait a certain amount of time depending on how thick you want it. And so let's say it's an hour. After an hour, you pour out the excess that's inside the piece, wait for it to firm up a bit, then you open up the mold, and then you have the object, which is essentially a shell.
Gotcha. Huh.
So you can get you can make a mold of a bottle, and then you pour the casting slip in, and then you pull it out, and then you have a porcelain bottle that looks just like the glass one that you made the mold off of.
That's pretty cool.
And so once you have like 10 molds, you can easily crank out 50 pieces a week. Gotcha. And they're all going to look identical.
Gotcha. So you this must be a technique that you often use?
It is kind of now. I mean, I use it a lot at Bauer because that's pretty much my main job, is to just slip cast.
That's true.
Stuff that is Bauer or other people's work. And so I got really good at it. So I know how to do it on my own pieces. And it wasn't actually, even when I was at school, it wasn't a technique I thought like, oh, I'm totally going to get into this. Because when we also learned how to do slip casting, we learned how to do mold making. And I don't like doing mold making. Mold making it's very time consuming. And I actually have a little poster up in the mold making area here at the university that just literally says like, if you make a crappy mold, you're going to have a bad time. And it's the most true thing that I could tell people, because if you make a crappy mold, when you put slip in there and it's not very good, or it's not a good seal, then that slip leaks all over the place. And this casting slip stuff, it's like a heavy liquid. It's kind of sticky. It gets all over the place. So it's always a thing that if you don't make a good mold and then you put a cast slip, just like you just get this big mess.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get a good cast.
You get a mess and not a good cast.
Yes.
You get a good one. That's true. Has that ever happened to you before?
Oh yeah, my first mold that I made when I was a student here, it wasn't good. It worked maybe 50% of the time. But since I've had all this time now, and I had my mini studio in my garage, I just started like, well, it ain't gonna make itself, so I better start making molds.
That's true. That's true.
Luckily, I've picked up a few nice techniques along the way.
Cool.
So that's helped out a lot.
That's so sad. That's cool. All right, I had a question. How long did it take you to turn your garage or into a studio?
Man, I think it took probably over a course of a month, because I was just kind of like, when I could, I'd grab as much as I could from here, put it in my car, and then unload it. And then for a while I was waiting on a table, because I ordered, like, my first table got lost by Amazon. So then I just had to order another one, and that one eventually showed up. So once I got my table, I was able to start doing something. And then I bought a bag of plaster from Bauer, and then I was able to start making molds. Yeah. So sometimes I'd be bringing stuff over and like, ooh, I should have brought that. And then I have to wait a bit and then get that. And then I could start working on things. But I took a lot of stuff from my personal area over to my garage, just so like, all right, I got something to work with at least.
Yeah.
But
that's good when especially for artists, like when you can work from home. I develop my own film, both color and black and white, over at my own. In the backyard, you know. It saves money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So do you have a favorite clay that you like to use?
I mean, not in particular. I mean, I mainly work with stoneware. You know, on occasion I'll work with porcelain.
What's stoneware?
Stoneware, it's a mid to high fire range clay. Okay. And so it gets up pretty hot. Here at the university, we only fire to mid range to high fire. And so the stoneware that we buy, it goes up to that temperature, and it varies. It can be like almost black, gray, kind of a buff color. So stoneware varies quite a bit. And then you have porcelain, which I sometimes work with. It can be off-white to white. Gotcha. And that stuff tends to be a bit more expensive and harder to work with.
Gotcha. It's a little bit, gotcha, okay. All right.
It's more picky.
Gotcha. It can, I guess it gets a reputation, right? Porcelain China, you know, it's very delicate.
It's very delicate. It's hard to work with, but it's actually surprisingly pretty strong once it's fully fired.
Gotcha.
And it's on par with and if it breaks, it's on par with about being almost as sharp as glass. So it's also something you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, that's for sure. I didn't know porcelain was like that. That's interesting. For sure that it's very fragile, but especially when it breaks, like, I don't know, I just never thought about it, you know? I guess you just don't think about it when you don't interact with clay like that. Excuse me. Pretty, so let's see, how long let's see, what do you have a favorite artist? Someone that inspires you, maybe? Or maybe it could be a friend, but not.
You know, in terms of ceramics, one of the artists I always kind of liked, just because it was very surrealist and I enjoyed his technique, was a ceramic artist named, I think it's Sergey Isapov.
Okay.
And he
How'd you
does
hear
these,
about him?
just looking up ceramic artists. And I went to a ceramic conference when I was in undergrad, and I saw some of his work, and I really, really liked it. I also really like Beth Kavner. She is a ceramic artist too. She does like these life-size jaguars that have like really nice designs and nice detail in them. I saw some of her work a couple of years ago at the same NCCA conference. And yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of artists that I just like for different reasons, whether it's like an extremely technical aspect, or I just kind of enjoy how their art looks. And I think in terms of like just a different artist, is I've always kind of appreciated like Salvador Dali and Rene Magritte for their surrealist styles and their backgrounds.
That's for sure. Dali definitely has some trippy designs, as I would call it. Like you said, very surreal. I'm definitely, him being a surrealist and all. That's what's up. I like where you get your inspirations from. I can see, just from you describing it. You said you may be able to show us a piece that may be painting?
Yeah, I could show you that. I just remembered I have a piece really close by. But it was, I think, probably my last piece that I was working on before this everything shut down, and I need to finish it up. Let's see. So this was a cup that I was working on. So you can see it has the tentacles. And so this is actually a 3D printed cup. So I don't know if you could kind of see that there's some lines on the inside.
Yeah, I do see that.
So the whole body of the cup is 3D printed. And then this handle, the tentacles, and these legs were all added on. And this was kind of like a fun test to see how I could best use 3D printed ceramics and use it to my own kind of art style.
Got you. So, hold it. Yeah, hold it. Turn it around. The texture, just how you got the tentacles coming out of the mouth, and you have the tentacles down at the bottom. That's going to be the feet at the base, and even just the handle itself it's wild. I like how everything has that. I guess that continuity. If that's what I want to use. That continuous flow of it, and even just with the textures on the on the figure's face is very. I don't know. It's I can see how when you say you like very like dark pieces and all that. Like, this is wild. So I'm still kind of in disbelief. So the body and the face, it's all from the printer?
Yes.
What?
So it was all printed, and then I smoothed it all out.
Got you. What? Okay, so I know it's about 3D printing, and then now you just said something about clay 3D printing, right? This is what this is, right?
Yeah. In fact, I could show you really quick.
Yeah, show us. Yeah, man.
So there's the 3D printer.
What?
No, set this guy down really quick. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're actually going to be using this a lot for the quarter in students are going to submit files, and then I'm going to print them. So this is our 3D printer, and it actually extends quite a bit higher when it's actually extended. And so these are just some other things I've just printed for fun. Like I printed this Ditto, and then I've also printed this like little 3D cup. And then there's also this form, which is actually, I think it might be the same. It's actually the same form as the cup, except it has a lot more detail on it because I was trying to push it, but it has the three kind of faces.
Cool. Yeah, whoa. Well, that's pretty cool.
So it's kind of like a variation on the theme, but I was just like, all right, I'm going to try this and see how it translates when I print it. And I also have these bases as well. So, I mean, all sorts of random things I've just been trying to print to kind of push it, as well as this, I think this base I printed the other day. So
wild. I didn't know. I mean, for sure, I knew about the 3D printing, but I didn't know school had a clay printer.
yeah, we got it
That's
summer
wild.
last year, and
Gotcha.
yeah, it's been. Not only do we have the printer, but we also have an Oculus Rift with the Oculus Medium.
Ooh.
So the Oculus Rift is the virtual reality headset.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, yeah.
So we have one of those, and then we have a program on there called Oculus Medium, which is actually like a 3D sculpting
Oh, how's that been?
program.
How's that experience?
It's kind of overwhelming at first, but once you get the
Sounds
hang
good.
of it, it's pretty easy. That's actually how I did that cup, as well as that other sculpture that I said, like, it's the kind of the three heads with all the detail. You just
Yeah,
go into this virtual world, and you can make it as like small enough to fit in your hand to you can make it as big as the room,
yeah,
and
that's
so you can do a
crazy.
lot of detail work.
Huh. So, that cup and other objects like that, I'm assuming you sell them on your website, or if people want to purchase it, because that cup looks pretty cool. Now
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more curious to kind of see what you got up on there.
Yeah, some of the cup, I don't think. I mean, it's just a sculptural fun cup. I mean, if there's a cup show that comes up or something, I'll submit it and maybe sell it. But I mean,
Yeah,
usually I've
definitely.
tried to sell my stuff at shows. But I mean, if somebody says like, "Sure, I'd like to buy that," then I'll sell it to them. But usually,
Gotcha.
the stuff I sell is more just kind of simple cups that some of the sales that we have. So I'm going to show you some of the other work. Let's
Okay,
see.
cool.
So here is one of them.
Oh, what? That's one of the from the San City
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so this was a tilapia.
Why is it tilapia?
So all those 3 or 4 pieces are actually held on to the metal by magnets.
Oh, what? Did you screw? Is the piece itself like magnetic, or did you put attach magnets to the?
I attached magnets to the ceramic pieces, and this is like a thin steel board or plate.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
So the magnets are much stronger than, well, they're just very strong magnets, pretty much.
got you. So, essentially, I could like take that apart and like spread it around.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Do you
so
have
this,
a lot of pieces that are similar to this? And like,
yeah, so I got this one, and then I have another one. I'm trying to think what this one was. It wasn't a tilapia; it was a different fish.
it's
I
all the
think this was
bone.
it was some sort of flatfish.
I can see like maybe a head over to the left side.
Yeah, that was its head. This one
That
I
was,
did. This one I did a bit differently. Was this the one I did differently? I think. I think this one.
what
Okay,
did
so
you do
this one
differently?
I recovered all the bones from its first firing, and then I attempted to kind of rearrange it, and then I did the same method. So that's where it kind of looks a bit more chaotic and scattered.
Yeah.
So I was playing around with
That's
that,
cool.
and I think, let's see, this one was a different fish as well. This was, I think, a golden pompano. So same thing, you get to kind of see the head on the left.
Oh
And I just
yeah.
tried to arrange it as a similar form to how it was. And all those are just being held together with magnets. And I have, this was one of the other original ones I had. This is the other tilapia.
Oh, that's really cool. Whoa. Yeah, I can definitely see it. I can see the
Mm-hmm.
eyes, like the little what? So much detail. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do these sell quite a bit, or is that part of your that series that you were telling me about? That you were kind of
Yeah,
like,
this was part of that Ruin series that I never really kind of put up because I'm like, we'll wait
you
on
know,
this.
yeah, I like them. In my opinion, they don't seem too like morbid in a sense of being insensitive and to the what we're currently going through. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're interesting. I really I like the texture of just the stone itself, the negative space where you don't have the impression of the fish. That's pretty cool. That's pleasing, and also just to kind of see the bones of the fish. We never really see that,
Mm-hmm.
nor like in that entirety. You know, we always see it like cut up. We always see the skin, so we never really see that. So to kind of see those bones on what you're making is, I guess, lack of a better word, very interesting in my opinion because I never see it. You know, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the bottom line. That's really cool that you got going on there. I think those are a good idea. Like I said, I don't think it's insensitive, but that's my opinion. So I'm not everyone, just me. Yeah, but that's what's up, man. That's really cool. What? Let's see. So, have you ever? Did you ever read like the Surrealist Manifesto? I'm asking you because of your interest in like surrealism or anything like that.
I'm sorry. Give me one moment.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
I my phone's about to die, and it doesn't seem like it's.
Oh no, have we? Okay.
It's really really quiet.
Can you hear me? Is this
I can hear you. I'm just trying to get the. It's. I get it where it's not a. I get it where it's going to go speaker. There we go.
Oh, got you.
Can you hear me or not?
Yeah, yeah. Everything looks good right here.
There we
What
go.
I'm looking, I can see you.
All right, now I can hear you. Okay. So what was that last question?
That Surrealist Manifesto. I'm gonna read a little bit about it, or I'm gonna read an excerpt from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you have any. Have you read anything from that?
No, I actually haven't.
Okay, okay. Nah. I mean, yeah, same here. If it wouldn't be for the class, I really wouldn't be reading it. I was just curious because hey, like Salvador Dali and you're a surrealist. What is it? Not motivation, but influence,
Inspiration.
inspiration. Thank you.
Yeah,
Words tend to escape.
I kind of also always appreciate like some of the Flemish artists. I don't know if it was from he was he might have been in the Renaissance or right before the Renaissance, but there was a Hieronymus Bosch. I always
Okay.
really liked his work too because it kind of had that same vibe and energy. And also, I think Peter Bruegel the Elder. They both had very similar styles of work, where it was usually kind of chaotic and very surrealist. And they at during their time, it was mainly about like hell or sin that they were doing their paintings about, but they were always very kind of weird.
Huh. Gotcha. I wonder where they found their interest in painting something like that. I wonder if it's kind of maybe similar, like you know. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. You gotta send me the pictures of some of the pizzas that you had mentioned that you showcase at the little gallery. That'll be really cool to put on. And,
Yeah. It'll probably just be easier for me to just send you the link and then tell you which ones I put on because there's a lot of them.
oh, got you. Yeah, yeah. Send that to me, man. Send that. I do want to say again that thank you for taking the time to
Mm-hmm.
allow me to speak with you and get to know you a little bit and hear about just your artwork. And
Thank you very much for everything.